testimony and your work at FHFA. And as you may know, the Democrat bill, the HEROES Act, called for an additional $100 billion in rental assistance. But I want to underscore the work that you have already done in this area at FHFA, keeping renters in their homes throughout this pandemic. As you noted in your testimony, FHFA built a nationwide multifamily forbearance programs and tenant protections, quote, from the ground up during the crisis, and I applaud your efforts. Tenants residing in multifamily properties with federally backed loans and forbearance may not be evicted. And on August 6th, you announced a number of additional renter protections for tenants in qualifying properties, including rent payment flexibility and a prohibition on late fees. You note in your testimony that renters in approximately 170,000 rental units in multifamily housing are eligible for eviction protection, and that FHFA created an online tool that allows tenants to know their options. My question is, to what extent are renters utilizing this online lookup tool that you created to see if they qualify for FHFA renter assistance programs?
Congressman, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Thank you for the remarks. Let me go back and find out whether we can determine the number of unique hits. I think we probably can find how many people have looked.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And again, I think that the actions that you all have taken reduce the need for Congress to act. Maybe Congress does need to act, but certainly you've done a good job to help renters in this pandemic. I also want to echo my colleague, Congressman Stiver's thoughts on CRT. Unfortunately, we have heard from stakeholders that the proposed GSE capital framework doesn't account for the value of CRT, and there is a risk of disincentivizing private market participation. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
I would disagree with it as a blanket statement. I think it's less an issue of counting or not. I think there's some difference in on how much it should count rather than doesn't count. We certainly account for it. The question is whether, are we as generous as some would like and think we should be?
Well, thanks. And my colleague, Congressman Stivers, said it very well. I do believe it's a very valuable tool for you all as you attempt to recapitalize the GSEs. FSOC, in December 2019, FSOC announced it would undertake an activities-based approach rather than an entity-based approach when identifying potential systemic risks. During the July 2020 FSOC meeting, FSOC announced it would begin that activities-based review of potential risks posed by the secondary mortgage market. You issued a statement in support of that decision. What observations or suggestions will you bring to FSOC on how to ensure the safety and soundness of the GSEs, particularly considering your view of the market during the pandemic economic challenges?
So what I would say, I think as you could understand, given the nature of deliberations within FSOC, that I can tell you today that we have been in conversations with other members of FSOC on these issues. We're examining these issues. I'm very hopeful that there will be a release from FSOC on this issue soon.
Do you anticipate any adjustments given the pandemic or the post-pandemic market? Adjustments to your proposed GSE capital framework, or are you going to stay the course?
I think we're going to stay the course because one of the reasons for a number of the buffers is to essentially account for unquantifiable risk. And at this point, while again, of course, we all hope we don't get another pandemic, there's the chance of that certainly not zero, but it's extremely hard to quantify within a capital rule. And this is why I think it's so important that we have buffers and we have a leverage ratio that go beyond simply measuring credit risk, because there are so many unaccountable factors, such as the impact of climate, such as the impact of pandemics, that we simply at this point don't have the data to appropriately model and quantify in the right way.
Director, thanks for your service. Thanks for your work, especially during these challenging times. And Madam Chairwoman, I'll yield back.
Thank you so much.